everybody. Welcome to Aisha's Oasis of Talk, or OOT for short. I'm Aisha. Find solace and peace of mind away from the daily grind here at OOT. Today, I'm interviewing my colleague, VALLE. VALLE, can you please introduce yourself to our audience or viewers?
Hello, everyone. My name is VALLE, and I am currently working at Tower, a school of English. So Aisha is my colleague.
Yes, right. So today's topic, everybody, is basically the benefits and drawbacks of teaching English as a non-native speaker of the language. Yay! Okay. Now, the questions will be broken down into 4 parts: benefits, drawbacks, professional development, advice, and insights. Okay, VALLE, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, fantastic. Right, so let's talk about the benefits first of all. And here we've got the first question. What are some advantages or strengths that you believe non-native English teachers bring to the classroom?
Okay, so this is a very interesting topic. And let's talk about the advantages that I think a non-native teacher can bring to the classroom. I think the main advantage is the fact that we've been through the same learning process that the students are currently going through. We've learned the language the same way, or at least in a very similar way. So we know what it's like to learn a second or third language. We know the problems that can arise, or the main difficulties that they might have to face. So I think we can bring that advantage into the classroom, and it's also interesting to bring our expertise in terms of finding ways to teach that come from having personally navigated ourselves that learning process, that maybe a native teacher may not be as familiarized with, because maybe they haven't learned a second language. In your case, Aisha, I know that you do learn several languages, so it's not your particular case, but for us, we have that advantage, I think.
Okay, well said indeed. Right, VALLE, let's move on to the next question then. In what ways do you think being a non-native speaker of English helps you to relate and understand your students' language learning challenges?
Well, like I said, we've been through the same process, and we could maybe anticipate the problems that they may encounter, and we know where they're coming from when they express those problems. We can also help them making comparisons, although I don't really like to use Spanish in the classroom, but it's also maybe useful sometimes to compare the 2 languages, and just to make it easier for them to make those comparisons too, because at the end of the day, we speak 2 languages, and sometimes it's good to reflect and to assimilate better what we're learning from that point of view.
Okay, can we just be a little more specific? What are some of the language learning challenges do you think your students face?
I think the main challenge is pronunciation and accent.
All right.
That's specific also to the Spanish students, because we do have a very strong accent, and a lot of the times it's very difficult to get rid of that accent. And well, since we've been in that place before, and we can also teach them ways to improve, not to improve. I'm not saying that having a Spanish accent is a bad thing.
Right.
But if our aim is to get closer, or the closest that we can get to having a neutral or a more British or American accent, there are ways that we can teach those things.
Right. Right. To be honest, I think at the end of the day, you want to be understandable. Your language needs to be comprehensible. So as long as your accent isn't interfering with my comprehension of what you're saying, you're good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, like you said, as long as people can understand you. But yeah, a lot of people do want to have a more I don't know, neutral, you could say, but it doesn't really hinder the accuracy of your English, if that's
exactly. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Right, Valle, let's proceed to the next question. Right. So the question is, how do you incorporate your own cultural background and language knowledge into your English teaching to enhance the learning experience?
I do like to incorporate my own experiences and anecdotes, because I think it's a very memorable way for them to learn. They love to hear you know, that time that I traveled to this country and I didn't know how to say that, or someone laughed at me because I mispronounced something, or anything like that. And they do retain those things. So it's also a way of learning from my mistakes. So that they don't make those mistakes, because they will in the future. Hopefully they will travel and they will work in different places where they will use English or any other language, and they have to know that there are differences that are important to know. So I've personally worked at Disneyland Park in Paris.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of anecdotes that I can share with them about, you know, that time where I mispronounced this word in English or in French, or what I said to this customer, or what I said to my friends, and they laughed, or they said something, and it's funny, and the students find it very interesting. So I think that's something positive to bring into the classroom.
Is there anything uniquely Andalusian that you bring into your language classes that maybe you and your students can bond over?
Ooh, that's a good question. I guess the fact that we have a certain accent in Spanish as well. So we could maybe establish the way people may perceive our abilities, because, you know, even when we speak in Spanish, we have different ways of speaking. So you could say that when we speak English, there are also all these types of accents, depending on where you live, where you're from, or the type of education that you got. So that's important to know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, then let's move on to the drawbacks.
Mm.
All right. Okay, so what are some challenges or difficulties that you face as a non-native English teacher?
Well, I think the main thing for me is confidence.
Okay.
I don't know if this is something that happens to every non-native teacher, but for me, sometimes you may wonder if you are as good of a teacher as a native one, as a native teacher, because well, it's just we are different types of teachers. Let's just put it that way. So we may struggle with confidence, and we might feel, that sense of inadequacy that you might compare yourself to your peers and say, do I have a strong command of the language? Is it as good as someone that speaks English as a native speaker?
Right.
So that's one thing.
Okay.
And maybe some cultural biases that other people may have, like our students or other colleagues, or the parents of students that may have, stereotypes or
Right.
of or some preconceived ideas that that might lead them to believe that we are maybe not as capable as as native teachers are. So yeah, basically.
Okay, that leads us very nicely into the next question then. How do you handle situations where your language proficiency is questioned or compared to that of a native English teacher?
Yes, so for me personally, what I do have to remind myself is to be confident, to get over myself sometimes, to get over those fears or that lack of confidence, to remind yourself of your accomplishments so far, your qualifications, your efforts, your everything that you've done to get this far, and the ways that you continue to improve in your career, and in the level of English that you might have. So yeah, sometimes you have to remind yourself that that you can bring positive things into the classroom that maybe native teachers may not be able to, and that you have the right qualifications, and as long as you keep improving, and as long as you keep challenging yourself to get better and better, you're good.
Absolutely. I would agree with that 100%. So are there any specific aspects of teaching English that you find more challenging as a non-native speaker, and how do you overcome them? So obviously you mentioned that sometimes you have that issue of, am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right place? And then you have to remind yourself of your qualifications, your experience, etc. But are there any more aspects of teaching English that you find a little more challenging as a non-native speaker, apart from a crisis of confidence?
Yeah, I think cultural information, let's say, because since we are not we haven't been brought up in a place where English was the first language, and we may not be that knowledgeable when it comes to culture, the culture of different places where English is spoken.
Okay.
But to be honest, there's so many resources that nowadays we can use to know more about different cultures that we can definitely use to get closer and closer to getting to know that culture better. And also, well, there's also, we don't know everything. I don't think native teachers may know everything, because we have to remind ourselves that even in Spanish, I don't know every Spanish word, and I make mistakes in Spanish as well. So that's an important point. We are learning every day as well, and
Absolutely.
I think that's a good thing. There are idioms or collocations that we may not be that familiar with, but as long as you keep learning and learning, that shouldn't be, I don't think that should be an issue.
Yeah, and don't forget the great teacher WWW, aka
Exactly.
the World Wide Web.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
If you need to know something, it's there at your fingertips. Just Google it, people.
Yeah, nowadays there's nothing you can't learn, nothing really.
It's all there. And now it's the age of AI as well. Oh,
my goodness.
Come on.
Oh my goodness. That's, it makes it even easier, to be honest.
Absolutely. No one has, any excuses anymore, really, in terms of gaining knowledge, right? And applying that to your lessons, to your classes.
Yeah, but you have to keep curious.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to get into next. So let's move on to professional development. How do you stay updated with the latest teaching methods and approaches in the field of English language teaching as a non-native, English speaker?
Right. So I don't think
so a non-native English speaker. That sounds weird, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I don't think that's different from any native teacher, right? We all want to learn from the latest methodologies or the latest anything that we can learn to strive for good teaching. So that's not really much there's not really much of a difference there with native speakers. And if you want to learn, make sure that you find reputable sources and webinars online. Look for teachers that you look up to, and just ask questions and be open to receiving feedback, even if it's bad feedback, which is not a thing. Everything is an opportunity to learn. So ask questions to your colleagues and attend those conferences that maybe Cambridge can offer, or any association of languages like ASEIA, which we're a part of, Tower Academia. So yeah, always continue to strive for excellence when it comes to that.
I guess the question wants to know more specific things, like, for example, are your sources people like you, i.e. non-native teachers of English, or are they mostly native teachers who are basically teaching you these methodologies and approaches? Or are you getting your information from, you know, once again, associations where, you know, most of the people are native speakers, or are they coming from, again, people like yourself, non-native speakers of the language? So where are you getting your sources primarily?
It's a little bit of everything. For me, my current manager, let's call it that way, has been my main source of learning, because she's taught me a lot of the communicative methodology, because that's not something that is applied in many Spanish schools. So it was like a new world to me, the way things are done in this particular school tower. So for me, really, it was the observation of my colleagues and that were putting into place that this methodology that is the communicative approach. That's been like a new world to me, like I said. And also conferences and seminars are very important, because you hear from other teachers. Some of them are also non-native, so that kind of gives you a little bit more confidence in yourself to see someone else that is also non-native be successful at their job, and it's kind of inspirational.
Yeah.
So I've gathered information from everyone. There are good teachers that are non-native. There are good teachers that are native. It depends on, you know, the qualities or the personality maybe of the person to be good at what you do, or not that good, I guess.
Right. Well, let's delve a little bit more into this, because the next question is, what resources or support systems do you find helpful in improving your English language proficiency and teaching skills? So tell us a bit more about, you know, you've mentioned conferences, you've mentioned webinars. Tell us a bit more about resources that you use to support your teaching.
I'm going to be honest, and this might not sound as professional as I would like it to sound, but I do watch a lot of YouTube videos because I'm interested in, you know, just watching how other teachers do things. It's helped me a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I do watch more YouTube than I read books.
And it's the reason we're on this platform, VALLE.
I'm sorry.
We know that lots of teachers use YouTube. You are in no way unprofessional for saying that. We're here for a reason.
Yeah, but you know, it would sound better to say, oh, I read this author and this, which of course it's also excellent to gather information, but it's great to watch teachers putting something into practice in a classroom. And your channel is going to be so helpful to me and to many other teachers, because that's what we need. We need to see how something is being done in a good way, I guess, because I've seen myself. I've learned English in different schools, and I think the methodologies are very different. So maybe teachers might need to check out channels like yours and get inspired, because it's so much fun to plan a lesson like the ones that you've been doing. It's so much better, and the results are great. So yeah, YouTube is a very good source of yeah, information.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with all you said. Go YouTube. I mean, there's a reason why we're here. Okay, so
Exactly.
right. I mean, obviously, you know, you've partly answered this next question, which is, have you attended any training or professional development programs specifically tailored for non-native English teachers? So we talked about attending conferences and whatnot in general. Did you ever attend any where it was just for people like you? And it says
No,
here, if so, what have you gained from those experiences?
I don't think I have. I don't think I've ever attended something that is tailored to non-native teachers. I haven't. No, I haven't. I don't think if I can find anything online again, online communities of non-native teachers, I will try to find those, because it could be very helpful, since, I mean, there are things that we can share together, and we could help each other out. That's the most important thing, to help other teachers out, because we're doing this for the same reasons, and yeah, it's good to share experiences.
Do you think that there's a gap in the market? Do we need these types of conferences and whatnot?
I think nowadays we do, because with the change of, you know, the situation when it comes to native teachers has changed in Spain because of Brexit. So we do see a raise in non-native teachers. So I think, yeah, there is a need of, you know, something that can train us, or that can give us the resources to be better at doing what we do. I think so, yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, you've heard it here, people. Get on that wagon. Okay. Right. Let's move on to the next part of this interview, advice and insight. So based on your experience as a non-native English teacher, what advice would you give to other non-native speakers who are, you know, obviously considering a career in teaching English as a foreign language?
Right. So I would say, don't be ashamed of your identity, of your own nationality, or whatever it is. Embrace who you are, because it has really nothing to do with the quality of the service that you're going to give. So
yeah.
Embrace your own identity, and really make an effort in achieving proficiency level. And let's face it, we have to learn the language, and we are still learning. We will never stop learning. So make the effort to be more and more proficient at what you're doing, and self-evaluate is very important as well. Just come from a place of get your ego aside for a minute, and don't be afraid to recognize that maybe you need to work on something. You might need to work on pronunciation, accent, or any specific area. Don't be afraid to learn. We all need to learn new things. That's the only way we keep improving, and it makes it more interesting even. It's interesting to see how you can always do something better than yesterday, for example.
Yes.
So yeah.
I mean, that's part of the fun of teaching. After a day's lesson or a day's like run of classes, you actually sit in your classroom at the end of the day and you go over things. What could I have done better? What do I need to do better next time? You know, that self-evaluation process is ongoing. It's something you do daily, you know, but it helps you to improve as a teacher, to develop as a teacher.
And it makes it more exciting, to be honest. Absolutely. Because it's a challenge. It's kind of like a challenge. How can I make, oh, this didn't go as well as I thought it would. So what can I do to make it better? And you start thinking of ways, you start, you know, researching things. So it's that creative part of teaching.
That never gets old. Absolutely. Okay, then. So let's move on to the next question. What strategies or techniques have you found effective in overcoming language barriers and effectively communicating with your students? You know, that's quite important, isn't it? And of course, colleagues like myself who might be native English speakers.
Well, practice. Find ways to communicate with real people, and don't be afraid of making mistakes. Just break that barrier and just think we are just two people communicating. Well, two people in this case, but when you're in front of class, I mean, there's always a way to communicate. Find a way to communicate. That's what's so fun about languages, how we can say so many things in so many different ways. And what else? What was the question again? Let me refresh.
Let me put it back up on the screen as well. Yes. Yeah. So question B.
Overcoming and effectively communicating with your students and colleagues. Yeah. Find as many opportunities to practice with native people, like what I'm doing with you. You were kind enough to offer an exchange, which was wonderful, I think. And it allows you to have a reason to practice your language, and it makes it more real, and you get more and more comfortable each time. So practice, and then find different ways and different people that you can practice with, and it will get more and more comfortable and easier with time.
And as you said, don't be too precious about your teaching, and be willing to discard things if they're not working. Be willing to try new things as well, you know, and it's a constant process, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, right. Okay, right. Let's jump right into the next question. So in your opinion, what can schools or institutions do to better support non-native English teachers in their professional growth and development?
Okay, so here, when it comes to schools like Tower or any other academia, more training, professional, to offer professional development opportunities, so that teachers can learn and they can learn from other teachers and just communicate with other people that might teach you a few things. When it comes to public schools, that's a different story. That's sticky situation, because there is a lot that I think should be improved when it comes to teaching languages.
Yeah.
but we could start with training teachers. And if you are a teacher yourself, don't be afraid to say, I could learn a few things. I could learn a few things from this other teacher. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad teacher. It doesn't mean that I'm not good enough or whatever it is. There's always something that you can learn from a different teacher, and you just have to, be open to learning new things, because we've been doing things the same way for such a long time. Excuse me, here in our country. So it's going to be difficult to get rid of those habits and that our old ways of doing things. But what is clear to me, and I think to a lot of people, is that something is not working.
Right.
And something needs to be changed. So my advice would be, get better training opportunities for those teachers, and to the teachers, just be open-minded and willing to learn.
Absolutely.
Let's all keep learning.
Yeah. Share, collaborate, observe other teachers. You don't necessarily have to wait for management to organize those observations.
Absolutely.
You know, you can always ask a colleague to kind of pop into her class or his class or something like that, get mentoring from your colleagues too. It always helps to get a more experienced colleague to kind of help you out if you need it. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you're part of management, organize in-house training, right? Organize workshops. You can get people from other schools to come and visit. They can teach you a thing or two. You can get speakers from outside to come in. And if you don't want them in your space, then virtually everything is online nowadays.
Yes.
And it's quite easy to set up. But the learning has to come from yourself, obviously, but from the school in which you're working too. We're all responsible for our own development, of course, but it helps when our institutions, basically aid that process.
But if you find that your institution is not doing enough, be just self-motivated enough to, you can change things from your, from your little, just be proactive. If you think that something could be better, just be proactive about it.
Yeah,
Definitely.
organize these things yourselves, conduct a workshop yourself, host a seminar or something yourself. These things aren't extremely difficult. You just have to find the time, the confidence and all of that to organize and run these things. But those things can be done,
and it's worth it.
Yeah. If you see a lack, then step in, fill up that gap, if you will.
If you see that the results that you're getting are not good enough, or that you're maybe putting a lot of work and you don't see the results that you would like to get, self-evaluate. Maybe is it something that the teacher needs to work on? Is it something that the institution needs to work on? Just think about it, and then draw a plan and communicate with your colleagues. And then if you find if you find support from them, you can all find other ways together to change whatever it is that needs changing.
Yeah. Well, to end, let me just ask you to reiterate, what does support at your school look like for you?
For me, it means my school manager, my school director offers enough opportunities for me to learn. That's key for me. Constant evaluation is also great for you to feel supported, to feel like you you're getting enough advice, enough feedback for you to work on whatever it is that you need to work on, and praise as well. You might get some praise sometimes, and not everything has to be bad, right?
Right.
So yeah, I feel supported in those ways, and also it allows me to be creative, and it allows me to explore and to consider and try new things. So I think that's good support from the school.
Yay. Okay, right. We've come to the end of our interview. Okay, so that's it for Oud. I'd like to thank my guest VALLE for taking the time out today to do this interview. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, VALLE.
Thank you. Thank you.
So everyone, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Aisha's English Oasis for more content like this. Also, click on my community tab and take a look around whilst you're there. Until next time, bye.